Have you ever found yourself in a conversation or interaction wondering how things got from here to there? It seemed like you were just talking, and then suddenly you're hit with a defense so powerful it's hard to respond. Anger comes from the person right in front of you, the degree of which seems completely misaligned with the intensity or subject of the conversation. It might not even be anger directed at you, but the ferocity of this emotion creates a domino effect so powerful it filters everything from us and them through its red-coated lenses. Oh no, you've never experienced that? Okay, yeah, me neither. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Wackett. Thanks for joining me for another video as we work to empower and equip you with the confidence and skills to write your own story so that you can live your life on purpose. Today, we're gonna talk about how to reframe and respond to anger, our own and that of other people, especially when it shows up uninvited or out of the blue. Look, in these tense moments, it can be hard to hit the pause button, as each side, our behaviors, our responses can activate increasingly greater defenses. Anger is what I like to call an activating emotion, meaning it likes to invite everyone's defenses and emotions to the party. Suddenly, you're no longer responding to a person or a situation, but to anger. You might find your own anger emerging as theirs comes up, and they're both ready to fight so that you can both try to take the lead. You isolate or you retreat, you put a protective coating on, you emotionally disengage, you attack. In some instances, you might even take a power down position, one in which the other person's anger becomes the driver or the dominator of a conversation and you lay down to follow its demands. You pacify their anger and smooth things over as quickly as possible. And by the time your logic brain returns to the conversation, the momentum has already taken the conversation off the tracks and into the woods. Anger has destroyed everything in its path. When you find yourself coming down from your own interactions or reflect on what occurred, again, by you or otherwise, you're confused. How did that escalate so quickly? What were we fighting about? Did I or they really say that? Why was that such a big a deal? See, anger is a power-based emotion that when left unfettered becomes deeply connected to our ego and shame. Like a bull in a china shop, it can destroy all things in its wake. Now, if you remember, shame is the threat to belonging. It sells you on the idea that it'll protect you from that pain of rejection and isolation, but in turn, it just pushes you further and further from connection by stripping you of any ability to be vulnerable and to truly be seen. So if you go back to one of these interactions and view it from the outside looking in, we can see something happened that activated shame from your other party. They suddenly reacted, their anger. They're not engaging anymore. They're defending, they're attacking. Unfortunately, it can be hard to tell exactly what it was in that moment because in most instances, it has nothing to do with us. I mean, we might have said or done something that triggered or was a catalyst to allowing their anger to take over, but that response is something about that person's narrative and it extends well beyond this interaction. And in turn, their anger showed up trying to protect the individual from being exposed, as they maybe been in the past, and as such, minimize their chances of being hurt. So then when we get consumed by their anger, we become characters or reactors to their shame story. We play into that narrative that's being written for them by this destructive force. And what's worse, our reactions can have a double impact if they too play into our shame, and we start to internalize our reactions as character flaws or self-deprecating analyses. So what do? The best thing we can do when we begin to feel the surging power of anger enter the space or consume a conversation is to hit pause. Take a deep breath and try to step out of an interaction and see it from above. Ask yourself, does their reaction make sense in the context of this interaction? Might their reaction be about something else? Might it have nothing to do with me? Is this a story that might be their own to work through, not mine to play a part in? And am I responding to a person or am I now triggered and reacting to their anger? How can I shift away from their anger and keep my own defenses out of the interaction? What might this person need to feel safe in this interaction? Now, look, I know this is a lot to think about in those few moments when the other party might be right there with you and anger is just in there with bated breath, and you might even have a hard time knowing you've even reacted because this just feels natural for you. So to give me the best opportunity to really think about these pieces and to also see what role my shame might be playing in a conversation, I just enact the 24-hour rule and step away from an interaction until I've calmed down, they've calmed down, and anger is no longer the dominant force driving a conversation. Now, that doesn't mean I just walk away, but instead I might say something to the other person, such as, I see this conversation is charged, and I don't want to make things worse by forcing a conversation right now. I care about you and I want to make sure we can both feel seen and heard. To do that, I need to take a break from this discussion and return at a later time. Now, while the idea of taking a pause can feel really difficult, and sometimes it takes everything in me not to give in and let my own anger drive my interactions, because let me tell you, it loves to fight and it loves to be right. It is important, though, that I remember reacting is not a conversation. My reaction is then a deflection to the true discussion and does nothing but fuel both our shame stories. At the end of the day, remind yourself that so much of how we interact with people has nothing to do with us. We're all trying to exist the best we can in our own narratives, playing roles in each other's stories in each interaction. So as you think about all this, I want you to share with us in the comments your key takeaway or just something that you're chewing on and thinking about that you're going to take with you from this video. While you're down in the comments, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button so you can stay in the know whenever new videos are released. And if you haven't yet gotten yourself on the AR Insider email, click the link in the show notes to get yourself on that list to get exclusive and supportive content I don't share anywhere else. Remember, you have the right to author your own story. So stop making yourself a primary character in somebody else's and make yourself the lead of your own. Each one of us can and will be able to do the work to release our shame and to allow anger to come into the story but not dominate the story. We just have to stop doing this in the interaction and remind ourselves that it's not always about us.